everyone, welcome back to my channel, where I make art and talk about my favorite topics of the week. It's another Marvel Rivals concept design video. Today, we are going back to the realm of the gods thanks to a request from Yokai-san23, who requested GORR the God Butcher in the Marvel Rivals style. Okay, so I know I haven't been doing these as frequently as I was last year. I am just exploring different types of videos and experimenting with different content. But as long as you keep asking for more of these, I'll keep doing them. I actually have quite a long list of potential heroes and characters that I would love to design for, including some of your requests, so I'll maybe try for a little better consistency in this series from now on. I'll be honest, I don't know much about GORR outside of the Love and Thunder movie, a movie I have mixed feelings about. But from my understanding, aside from changing his design for the movie, they actually kept most of his backstory the same. After losing his family, GORR felt abandoned by the gods, and so when he found the Necrosword, it became his mission to end all the gods, hence his title of God Butcher. Pretty self-explanatory, honestly. He's got a job to do, and he sure will try to do it. I was actually really surprised to find out that GORR was much more creature-y in his comics design. I kind of understand the choice to avoid using a lot of prosthetics that might hinder Christian Bale's performance, but I also would have liked to see something like the head tails that would have made the character look a little more like the comics. They sort of remind me of the Twi'leks in Star Wars. Speaking of the comic design, it's actually rather simple, and I didn't feel like I really needed to make any real changes when I was designing this character in this concept. With that in mind, I wanted to focus on making him look as much like the gremlin freak that he is. I know it's not exactly this way in canon, like part of what makes GORR scary is that he behaves almost normal and not unhinged, but I can only pick one pose for my drawing, so... But, imagine, the character select screen or the idle animation, and he starts off standing straight, but then switches into this position, where he's sort of crouched and whipping his head around and snarling at something. Juxtaposition, or whatever. Anyway, the part of the design I felt was worth exploring more of was the design of the Necrosword, all black. A sword forged by Null, and technically a symbiote. So I wanted to stray a bit from the traditional sword silhouette. And instead, taking inspiration from the symbiote tendrils, I designed it to be a three-sided, twisted blade. I took some elements of the original comic design in the way of the hollowed-out middle bit. I figured the sword didn't really need to be that realistic when the wielder is named God Butcher. Butcher communicates something a lot more brutal, so really elegance doesn't seem to be a priority. Well, that concludes my design for GORR. And if there's a character you want to see me design in a Marvel Rivals concept, leave it in the comments below. The next hero for this video is also featured in the Thor movies, kind of. I wanted to design a concept for VALKYRIE in the Rivals style. Valkyries, like their mythological inspiration, are actually a group of female warriors that serve Odin by guiding the souls of those slain in battle to Valhalla. But the character most commonly referred to as Valkyrie in the comics is Brunhilde, which is who I'm basing my design on today. There are a few other characters in the comics now who have the Valkyrie title, including Jane Foster and the more recent Runa, based on the MCU Valkyrie. While it was cool to see an adaptation of Valkyrie in the MCU, I kind of always felt it was really weird that she never had her own name and was just called Val the whole time, even when she was rejecting that title and that part of her past. That has always been a pet peeve of mine about this character, so I'm really glad that the comics took the opportunity to adapt her story into this newish character. Here's a question. If Rivals ever does add Valkyrie as a playable character, which alter ego do you think she should be? Of course, Brunhilde is the original, but both Jane Foster and Runa are also the current Valkyries, and Rivals sometimes likes to pick the more recent versions of a character, like with Iron Fist and Psylocke. Whoever they choose in this imaginary scenario, there's always a chance for them to do the thing that they did with Lady Loki and add the other versions as special skins. Also, I have a hot take for you. I asked you guys a few weeks ago on Instagram what role Valkyrie should play, and a lot of you did choose Vanguard. And actually, I would have agreed with you at the beginning when I started planning out this design. I originally wanted to design her on her winged horse, but I remembered that drawing horses is hard, and also drawing wings is hard. So here's my pitch on a strategist Valkyrie. I think one thing we need to keep in mind about the Marvel Rivals roles is that most heroes need some sort of tweaking to fit into them anyways. And while every strategist has the ability to heal their teammates, not every one of them is designed for that purpose only. Anyway, I had this idea about a strat Valkyrie because of their ability to sense death. So, even though Valkyrie as a character is not really the healing type, an ability based on buffing or debuffing based on health percentage could be really fitting. I didn't really get a chance to talk about the design yet, so here's a few things I want to point out before the video is over. I didn't draw that horse I mentioned before, but I referenced it in the shoulder pauldrons, which are kind of shaped like a horse's head. Valkyries in both myth and comics are often pictured with wings, whether it's their own or on the aforementioned horse, but I didn't want to use actual wings since Angela is already in the game. So instead, I ended up using wing shape imagery in several places, like the arm guards, leg armor, and cape. I also wanted on record that I imagine that she has 2 thick braids going down her back, since that is Brunhilde's iconic hairstyle, but I couldn't really figure out how to include that without covering up all this armor design I love doing. And that is it for today. Let's take a look at the final renders. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any suggestions for other video ideas, you can let me know in the comments. Follow me on Instagram at KaylinVerse to see the rest of my work. And if you want to support me so I can keep making more videos, you can subscribe or donate to my Ko-fi, or find my stuff for purchase on Redbubble and in print. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.